Who enjoyed the show tonight? Give me a round of applause. That was awesome. That was awesome. We also look for your responses. This is football, hashtag this is football. You know, it'd be awesome to get your responses, go online, social media and everything, so we kind of promote it. It starts on the 20th, Tuesday, January 20th, so kind of spread the word. And I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, because, you know, that is the foundation of what football, how it starts. And it's, a lot of time it looks like it's hard and tough, but man, there are a lot of lessons that come out of it. But I really enjoyed, you know, watching the show, and I'm actually gonna set my DVR, make sure I watch it with my kids, because I have two boys that also play football, and I've lived a life of football. And I want to introduce myself if you came in a little later. My name is Chuck Smith. I'm a former youth football player for the CYA Colts, also played at Clark Central High School in Athens, University of Tennessee, and for the Atlanta Falcons. And we got a great panel here. I appreciate you guys waiting around so we can have a panel discussion, because part of improving the great game of football is having dialogue and discussion, because there are some things that I agree with what I saw the coaches doing, and I think it's safe to say there's some things that I disagree with what I saw there, and not only from the coach's standpoint, the parents, and we're going to bring a little bit of that up tonight, the parents' responsibility here, the coach's responsibility, the league commissioner's responsibility, all the different things that we want to get in. But first I want to introduce a young man that I've known for a long time, played at the University of Georgia, also in the NFL, currently playing in Canada, all SEC linebacker, Rennie Curran. Give him a round of applause. One of the best commissioners in football from the Metro Atlanta Youth Football League, Tony Davis. Give him a round of applause, guys. And from the Atlanta Daily World, Mr. Terry Shropshire. Give him a round of applause, guys. All of them have lived a life of football. And I think the first thing I want to talk about, getting this discussion, when you think of football, youth football, define what youth football means to you.
It was character building. It was something that I was addicted to since I was about 5 years old. So it helped to build character, it helped to build strength, it helped to build my confidence, my self-esteem. So there's a lot of lessons in it. So football is Americana. Football is quintessential America. It is America's passion. So what football means to me is life lessons.
It's the camaraderie. I think the basis of growing up to build friendship, knowing how to work with people that you don't get along with outside the game is something that dealing with young men, and as you can see, young women as well, to understand what they can contribute on a team, in a team basis, and transfer that to your everyday life.
Just to piggyback off what the gentleman just said, just football to me is, it's a metaphor for life. Some days you're gonna have your good days, you're gonna have your bad days, you're gonna have your good seasons and your bad seasons. And through it all, you're gonna have those lessons that you learn, whether it's good or bad. And it really teaches you, for me, it taught me resilience, it taught me how to bounce back. It taught me sacrifice. It taught me just having that right mindset. I mean, so many things, and it still continues to teach me to this day, patience. Where I'm at right now, I'm a free agent, waiting to get back, waiting to see where I'm gonna go next. And it's just another lesson, just patience, man. There's so many lessons that you can go on, even from just watching this show, that I'm sure we'll get into today. But I've been playing this game now for 15, 16 years, and it's been a blessing. And so that's kind of my take on it.
Randy, I want to talk about you playing youth football. And you guys can hashtag this is football. Talk to me about parents. I'm interested about the parents' role in this thing, because what I saw tonight is a question I've always asked myself when I watch other parents out there, and I even watch myself sometime. I've had those moments where you look on the side, you want to jump across that fence. And I want to ask you this, Randy, starting out. Do you believe that overzealous parents are affecting youth football?
Oh yeah, I mean, without a doubt. Without a doubt, it's overzealous, whatever you want to call it, prideful. And at the end of the day, it's your kid. I'm blessed with a beautiful young daughter. She's 6 years old now, and at the end of the day, I don't think there's no parent out there that doesn't want their child to be the best. And that's originally where it starts from, with just their attitude towards their kid or towards the game. And from there, it can kind of spiral out of control. When you let as you saw, your ego get involved, your pride get involved, that's where it can go wrong. So I think parents just really have to keep in mind the grand scheme of things. You know, like we talked about, the lessons that are learned from the game of football, not necessarily just winning all the time or being the best all the time, because sometimes your best just is not going to be good enough. You know, at the end of the day. So I think that's the main things the parents have to keep in mind when they're trying to coach their kid. Just keeping keeping the fun in the game, because at their age, man, that's what it's all about, building those memories. So that's.
Tony, you're a commissioner. There's a fine line between coaching someone up and bringing someone down. Talk to me from a commissioner standpoint. How do you handle a coach like the Colts, who was suspended 1 year for using vulgar language, and clearly we see here it hadn't changed. How do you handle that situation?
Well, from a commissioner point, you know, that coach represents that part. The one thing that most commissioners understand, that when that parent is upset with what's going on that team, they don't go back and say that coach. They say that part, that organization. So he's representing an organization. So as a commissioner, you have to pull him aside. Obviously, he should have been probably suspended a little longer, because he hadn't learned from the stepping away. You know, he's saying it's going to take day after day. Well, he needs more than a couple of days to pull away from it. His language was way above what we expect for our coaches, our teachers of our young men. You know, they are the mentors that you as parents allow your kids to be under. You know, I tell parents when I bring them to my organization is, I want you to recruit the coach as well. Come and see how he works with your child. You know, a coach can always look at your kid and see his talent, or say, well, yeah, I want him. Yeah, you know, we can do good. Recruit that coach as well. Know what kind of man that is motivating your child, and you know, it'll go a long way as you as he go, and you in any sport. So.
Terry, you're with the Atlanta Daily World. You've been around for a long time. You've seen, I mean, football grow from its infancy now to really become a multi-billion-dollar business. Talk about the influence now of the NFL, the influence of pop culture as we know it on the kids. Do you think there's a direct correlation between parents that are pushing their kids to be famous with now the evolution of, you got everything on TV, the big money commercials? Talk about how football, how the NFL and college football and everything around it has influenced youth football.
That's a good point, because for all you football fans out there, and I want to apologize to my man from the University of Georgia, because I went to the Ohio State University. But that's a good question that you asked, because there's a quarterback who just started 3 games, for all you football fanatics, and yet he won the national championship for Ohio State. But when he was asked, he said, "I'm not going." Now that's shocking, because that goes against the current of what kids want to get to the pros right away. I think, based on your question in regards to, I think a lot of parents push their kids too hard sometimes, because they see the glamour, they see the lights, and the parents are actually living vicariously through their kids. And since they, for lack of a better term, may have failed as parents in their respective sport, they're going to live vicariously through their kid to try to push them so that they can stop working. I've heard this over and over from playing sports and as well as covering sports. That he gonna make me a lot of money. I only got about 5 more years to work, girl. It's over now, you know, so I'm about to retire. So yeah, the NFL and college football, big money sport, multi-billion-dollar sports, and I don't know why they call college football amateurism, because it's definitely a for-profit business. So I think it's had an impact, and I think that's where parents are important, in that they teach them, and the coaches, and as well as the commissioners, teach the children, you know, the priorities, the big picture, what is really important. Play the game to have fun, play the game for all the right reasons, and not to make your parents, not to put your parents in early retirement. So I think that's the impact that National Football League, $10 billion sport, has had on college football as well as youth sports.
One of the more interesting questions that I get all the time as I travel around the country when I speak and get a chance to be involved with dealing with football: at what age do you start your child playing football? That's a 3-answer question from you guys. I'm interested in all 3 of you guys' opinion. We'll start right here with you, Rennie. At what age would you start your child to play football? And is there an age that's too young?
I mean, for me, I have a completely different perspective when it comes to that. Because both my parents were Liberian immigrants who came here in the 80s, had no clue about football at all. Now they're experts, of course. But when it came to me playing football, I mean, the first thing, my mom just thought it was a bunch of people hitting each other. So I practically had at the age of 10 years old, beg my parents to take me out and let me play football. And that's what I believe every parent should base their decision off of. Because you see a lot of parents, they're trying to just get their kid out the house, keep them active. But I think they should let their child show that passion, that love for it. Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to make them successful in that sport, whatever it is, if they love it. So I think that's what you got to go by as a parent. So whether it's music, whether it's arts, anything, just allow your kid just to show that he has that passion first, and then take it a step forward and promote them.
Well, the age I feel should be probably 7, 8. You got a lot of kids starting at 5 or 6. Only problem with 5 and 6, especially for a contact sport, you take out the learning process of it, because of the fact their attention span is so sporadic. So it's easier if you do flag or something where it's a shorter game. They can get tidbits of what the game is about. One thing that parents need to understand, and even coaches, people say the word fundamentals. Well, they can't. The fundamental is the fun of the sport. When you learn the passion about this game, that when you really know this game, you know the fundamentals. The guys that succeed in this sport or any sport, they know the fundamentals. The best games that you see are games where guys are showing the fundamentals that was taught as a young age. But we need to push it and strengthen the knowledge of those fundamentals so these kids can enjoy it. And in return, the parents will enjoy it more because they know the fundamentals are being projected in their child or in just the team in general.
Let me follow this professor. But no, I don't think this, in terms of sports, period. I'm a believer that it's never too early to get your child involved in sports or some type of athletic endeavor. But in terms of football, you might want to hold it off a little bit, like you said, take a little bit later because their bodies are still developing, especially their brains and their head. So, but I think it's just very important to get your children involved in something that they're passionate about. And if it happens to be football, then, like you said, do flag football or whatever. But I think that you should try to figure out and get them involved in everything. And if it happens to be football, I say get them involved as early as possible in terms of maybe just throwing the ball to them, doing pitch and catch or flag football or something involved with football. And then when they get a little bit older, then they'll be ready for the helmet. But I'm a believer. Get them involved as soon as possible.
Randy, you've played at the highest level. You've taken a few hits to the head. And we've talked about that. Sometimes you get a little crazy, but no, seriously. As I'm watching that, I think one of the interesting components of this first episode was concussions. It's the hottest topic in America, talking about concussions. How did that make you feel when you saw those young kids? Because it's different when it's an NFL player. It's different. You're playing for money. How did it make you feel when you saw those kids getting concussions? And it almost what I heard from the coaches, they were kind of encouraging them to, use their crown from last year's episodes. Talk to me about concussions and your thoughts on that.
Just watching this episode, it just brought back a lot of memories. And you see the problem that the NFL is facing now with the head injuries and concussions, and you see where it starts. This is something that starts from day one when you're young. You're taught to get up. You're taught to, if you're hurting, now you're gonna get through it. And so you take that same mentality and that same kind of identity with you, and it stays with you. It's not something that you can just coach, that just goes away. And so I feel like it's gonna be a never-ending problem, honestly, because it's just part of the game. It's hard to coach toughness and a certain mentality to help you be successful, and then on the other side say, oh, you gotta do things a certain way. I mean, there's no way I can be coming full speed at you and in the last second I adjust my body. you know, to the way that you're projecting yourself at me. I mean, it's hard to do. So I think better equipment. You know, you can talk about it all day, but at the end of the day, it's football, and it's a rough sport. It's going to be part of the game. Injuries, you know, as well as I do. We can train all we want, get in the weight room all we want, stay as flexible, but there's going to be those freak accidents that happen just because of the nature of the game.
Terry, you've had a chance to write about, I mean, the phenomenon of these concussions. Do you believe it'll impact the kids in the future playing football? Do you think concussions are going to impact the way kids decide their sports and the way parents decide their sports?
Well, I think it already has, but it's not been as dramatic. It hasn't really manifested itself yet. It's still by far the most popular sport in America. It's the biggest moneymaker in America. I think last year, the top 25 shows on television, of all television, 24 were associated with football, the NFL, college football. So it's not going anywhere. But in terms of the future, 5 to 10 years down the line, yes, I do believe that it will manifest itself in terms of less participation until we come up with some equipment or improve the technique. But right now, no, football's going nowhere.
Tony, you're a commissioner, and I want to talk to you about this. Football, to me, I mean, it teaches you not only to be disciplined, it teaches you toughness. There are a lot of, you know, different values in there that add, I believe, to men and, as we see, young ladies now that are playing football now. Talk about some of the positive impact that you've seen what football instills on the kids from your community.
Well, football give them a state of being. I think a lot of kids from the inner city, or just kids in general, it's something that they yearn to do. At a young age, a lot of kids actually do what their parents love. Anything that their parents are involved into, that's something that kids want to do to get the accolades of their mom and pop. You can see the young lady, although she was there for exercise, you know, she was yearning for the accolade from her mom to, you know, just cheer on. But she was getting the opposite. But then again, if you saw earlier in the show when the father was talking to his son about, you know, what are you going to do? You know, I'm going to block. And you can just see the bond from that father and son about a game that they both shared. As kids grow up in these games and any sports, it's really about the teaching that is around them, that's surround them through life. You know, most coaches come in and out of kids' life. It's apparent reinforcement of the teaching that the coaches have done. So that's why I say I go back to recruiting a good coach, recruiting a good mentor for your child to play a sport that you both want to share. Because of the fact, for 2 hours, most practice are 2 hours. For 2 hours a day, they're getting that teaching. But people forget, most of the time, 8 hours a day, you're not with them still because they're in school. So that's 10 hours that, you know, somebody else is mentoring your child.
Give our panel a round of applause, guys. Thank you to Randy Curran, Terry Shropshire, and Tony Davis. Guys, I want to finish up, and first of all, make sure everybody get a chance to hashtag This Is Football. Guys, give your opinions on the first episode, and also give your opinions on this event tonight. I want to thank everybody at Squire Network for also giving us this opportunity to, you know, talk about living the football life. And I just want to close with this. And I just want to add a little bit to it as we close up. I have a chance right now. What I do for a living, I'm a master football skill trainer consultant for the National Football League. I get a chance to be based out of Atlanta. I'm gonna tell you what I do is I train football players around the world. I consult 27 NFL teams on the development of the system. The most important part of improving your kids, helping them against concussions, it's not about speed. It's learning to have body control and improving his athletic ability. If you can't bend your knees, you can't avoid a concussion. If you can't get your body in a certain position, you will never ever be able to be in position to protect yourself. If you can't bend, you're always going to be at the brunt of the hits. So what you do is if you have limited flexibility, you'll have limited playmaking ability. So that's what you're seeing now. What we have to do is increase not only the skill training of the players. Doesn't matter if you run straight this way. If you can't go sideways and you can't avoid the hit, you're going to always be affected. To have your body at a 45-degree angle right here to make a tackle with your head up, shoulder pads down, eyes up. If your kid physically can't do that and he's playing football, he's always going to be at the brunt of having a chance to be hurt when it comes to concussions or for other matters. So what's happening now, football is changing. Like we talked about here, football is 365 days a year. Guys are training at all levels. So it's not necessarily training to be the best, it's training to protect yourself and be the best. So I appreciate you guys, taking time to come out. Appreciate the panel. Everything you guys said was on point. I just want to say thank you guys so much and look forward to seeing you guys now training, getting ready for the 2015 football season. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate you coming out.